Well, today I'm going to talk about where are you on the global pay scale? Information is according 29 March 2012 by Ruth Alexander, BBC News. If there were you no rich and poor, and everyone had an equal share of the world's total pay packet, how much would they earn? The total value of world income is closing in on $70 trillion per year, and there are 7 billion people in the world, so the average income is heading towards $10,000 per person per year easy. But not every has a job, and some of those 7 billion are children. So another question you could ask is, what is the world's average wage? That is more tricky to answer, but a group of economists at the United Nations International Labour Organization has had a go, so they have never gone public with this information until now. Let's consider the scale of the Herculean task the number crowders at the ILOs set themselves. First, they work out the total wage bill for every country in the world. To do that, they get the average salary from each office for national statistics and multiply that amount by the number of earned in each country. In this way, they are able to give more weight to countries which have more workers in them. The average salary in China has more influence on the world average than the average salary in New Zealand, where many fewer people live. Once they have the total wage bill for each country, they add them all together and divide by the total number of earners in the world. That gives you the answers. The world's average salary is $1,480 a month, which is just less than $18,000 per a year. But these dollars are not normal US dollars. The economists use especially used at exchange rates. The average salary is calculated in purchasing power parity dollars. $1 is equal $1 spent in the US. Essentially, the PVP dollar take into account the fact that it's cheaper to live in some countries than others. The idea is that we don't care how many actual dollars somebody is paid in, say, China, but they care about that sort of stuff those dollars can buy. If someone in China takes their salary of 1,500 yuan per month and they go to the bank, they will actually get $200. Annual economist Patrick Belzer explains. But this is not what we use to compute this global average because what is important there is that people are able to pay with this 105 yuan and this where we compare to the purchasing power of the US dollars and find that it is actually equivalent to around $400. Another way of putting it is that the conversion to dollars expresses how much it would cost you in the use to get the equivalent goods and services you can buy with salary locally. Let's put the world's average salary in $50 of $1,480 a month, or almost 18,000 a year dollars in context. It is less than half the average salary in the UK and the United States, where average monthly earnings are just over $3 $3,000 a month, or around $37,000 a year. It is twice the average salary of Bulgaria and the same as the average salary in Poland. It's twice the average salary of Bulgaria and the same is the average salary in Poland, the country at the bottom of the average earnings language is Pakistan, where the average wage is about 2,000 $2,700 a year, while the country at the top is Luxembourg with average earnings of around $48,000 per year. You might think that $1,048 amounts for $18,000 a year is quite high. It comes to $75 a day for a 20-day working month, but it's well known that more than a third of the world's population lives on less than $2 a day. How can these two views of global incomes add up? In truth, the economists at the ILO have data to really on very fuzzy statistics. Data is missing for some countries, even a country as large as Nigeria, for example, and also the economists at the ILO are only counting wage earners. They exclude huge numbers of people who appear in the poverty statistics but not in the calculations for the average wage. Pensioners, children in stay-at-home parents, for example, and even the self-employed. The number of self-employed is huge in developed countries. About 90% of the working people are paid employees, but that figure is lower in many developing countries. For example, in South Asia, where many people are self-employed or independent farmers, just 25% of workers are salaried. But calculating the world's average salary is still an exercise worth doing, according to Besser. It certainly tells you something about the state of worldwide economic development. I would say we always use gross domestic product (GDP) as the reference, but I think we also have a whole lot of trouble understanding exactly what is the meaning of GDP, whereas wages are a such more obvious indicator of the quality of life. It tells you something about the quality of life of the middle classes. It tells you where most of the people are at the end of the month, and it gives you an idea of how they live, how often they can you, you can go out, what they can buy, where they can live, what kinds of rent they can afford, and that's interesting thing compared to GDP per capita, which is a such more abstract notion. And if you understand the limitations of these numbers, that is, it gives a rough idea of average employee salaries. Belzer says that it holds an important lesson. What it shows also is that the average salary is still pretty low. He says, and so that the worldwide level of economic development is in fact still pretty low in spite of the huge influence that we see in some places. Well, that's all for this topic about them.